top 5 of the all-time greatest labels, bro.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
Now guys, hear me out. A lot of rappers are kind of like bananas. Bananas have that perfect 24 hours where they're actually good before they're green and before they're black and mushy. This is the bananas prime, and a lot of underground artists are like this too. There's a time where artists is really locked in and their music is at their peak, and today we're gonna talk about that. Now for the last couple days, I did been thinking who had the best prime in the whole underground scene. And I seen a lot of discussion about Yeat having the best prime in 2021, SoFaygo having the best prime during that time, and even people saying that summrs back in 2019 had the best prime. But in this video, we're gonna go over who in the whole music scene has the best prime. We're gonna go over the time an artist had their prime and really see if it really stands up to others. But since I started the video off with SoFaygo, we're gonna talk about him, which I would say his prime was easily throughout 2019 to 2021, which SoFaygo goes on to drop this beautiful project called War, which this was only the start of his run. And if you haven't heard this project, I highly recommend listening to this project. And then SoFaygo later that year drops this legendary unreleased song. I'm not even glazing, this is at least top 5 best songs in the whole underground scene. Then in the same year, he also drops Knock Knock, which is what really shows his face to the mainstream audience. And I remember this time because I remember every little kid dancing on TikTok to this song. And to be honest, I might have been one of them because that song was a banger at the time. But his prime did not only end there, it went into 2020, which he drops Angelic 7. But besides this being a good project, it also stirred the pot because he was beefing with Slaywell at the time and he dissed him in this album, which this was a pretty big moment in the whole underground scene and just music in general. And after this song dropped, it was clear to the whole music scene that SoFaygo has won this beef against Slaywell. Then within the same year, SoFaygo drops another album called After Me, and personally it's one of my favorite SoFaygo albums. With this album, birth hits like Every Day and Off the Map, which these songs were also very popular on TikTok at the time. But after this is pretty much where his prime ended, which of course he had a lot of hype, but he didn't want to drop an album until 2022, which he drops this, and this album's pretty much hated. No one liked this album at all. But overall, he had a pretty good run, and not many artists can really recreate this type of run he had. But the next person I want to talk about is going to be Osama. Now, he is a still pretty good artist now, but back in 2023, he was a different breed. Now, this might be a bit debatable, but I think his career started when he dropped CTSV. I remember the first time I heard this on TikTok with the stutter, and it sounds so hard to me. And I remember right after this, I went through Osama's whole discography after hearing this song. Which he also drops another song named Troops, which also was a banger. But what really surprised me is when he dropped Osama's Season. And to be honest with you, I still think this is one of his best projects he ever made. The album is quite short, but there are no misses within this whole album, as the beat selection in this album is very good. There's some rage beats and there's some more melodic type plug beats on this album, and every time Osama hops on the beat, he just delivers. And within the same year, he drops Flex Music, which this album was also very good. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard this album, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but this slowly grew on me, and it's definitely one of my favorite projects from Mr. Osama. But after Flex Music, this is where I think his music kind of slowed down a bit. He still made great music, but it wasn't up to par with what he was dropping in 2023. And there is a possibility of Osama having a second prime, as he dropped Jump Out this year, which was a banger. And he's dropping another album this year, which might be really hard as well. But the next person I'm going to talk about is going to be Yeat. Now, what really put him on the map was his album Up To Me. And this album was huge. There's one point where I would scroll anywhere and I would only hear Yeat. And I'm not gonna lie, at one point Yeat was my favorite artist. And he was probably yours too. Yes, you, the one looking at the screen. Yeah, but after this album, he blew up really quickly. Like, I kind of compare him to Speed, the way he got out the underground so fast. Which at the time before he dropped this album, I already knew him for one song, which if you know, you know, this song right here. But Yeat definitely deserves all the success he got for that album because he's been grinding for a minute. Then Yeat later drops another project called Too Alive, which I personally think is one of his best projects. And at this point, he's basically mainstream now. He had a feature with Young Thug and Gunna on this album. Gunna and Young Thug also really did their thing on this album. And also TikTok was eating this up. There's so many trends. Anime TikTok was eating this up. It was truly just a lovely time for this music in general. Then in the same year, Yeat drops this project. Now it was a bit short, but it was most definitely sweet. I remember listening to this back in 2022 and it was just straight stank face the whole album. Especially the song named System. I don't know what sort of compound Z this guy was on, but this song was too hard. And this song was so catchy at the time, he just had it in the bag the whole year 2022. And then the next year we have Afterlife, and that's when I feel like he kind of slowed down a bit. You know, you can't have a prime for 3 years in a row. That's not how it works. But I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say Afterlife didn't have its moments. It was still a pretty good, decent project. But even though, you know, I solely listen to underground music, you know, I'm an underground glazer, you know, this whole YouTube channel is about underground music, I have to say that Yeat has the best prime. You know, and he has truly influenced a lot in the underground scene as well. Like, not much people really talk about it. But before I end up this video, I do have some honorable mentions. You know, the first honorable mention I want to talk about is just Slay World in a whole, you know, Can, Autumn, Summrs. And Summrs went crazy back in 2018, 2019 with Revived and Bell World. Those are amazing projects. And also Cardi, like, he has so much of an influence on just everything mainstream underground through his Whole Lotta Red era, through his Narcissist era, through even the Cash Cardi era. Like, it's just too many eras I gotta talk about, too much primes Cardi has had. But that will pretty much wrap up this video, and let me know if you think I missed any primes. You know, you can comment them down below, but make sure to like and sub if you enjoyed, and make sure to look through my other videos where I do other discussion about music and underground music. But I'm gone.
Keep her hands up, spilling fucked up my pants up. Her 15K can't stand up. I'm with some rid up band up. Come on, ain't got no